Democrats were gaslighting the country, saying that inflation was not a big deal, heralding Bidenomics. Not only Biden, but Kamala Harris was heralding Bidenomics, pretending that there wasn't a problem at the border.
Get ready to see Tim Walz humiliate himself in front of all people, CNN's Jake Tapper, a well-known leftist. How embarrassing. Folks, it has been really bad for Walz and Kamala ever since that election ended. They don't know what to do with themselves. They are miserable. And you know what? We're loving it. So we're going to get right into it. It's going to be fun. But first, do me a huge favor here. Like our video and share it around so we can keep bringing you all this great, hard-hitting content. And as always, Patriots, I'm your host, Darian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
Well, what do you make of the criticism that one of the reasons why your party was so resoundingly rejected last November is because Democrats were gaslighting the country, saying that inflation was not a big deal, heralding Bidenomics. Not only Biden, but Kamala Harris was heralding Bidenomics, pretending that there wasn't a problem at the border. And then fundamentally, this idea that President Biden was up for another 4 years of the job while Americans in poll after poll for year after year were saying he's too old to do the job. Your party stood against all of those things.
Look, Joe Biden coming in and doing COVID and being a governor through COVID did a hell of a job. But I think one of the things...
Governor? Tim Walz is getting a little senile too.
That we didn't do is we assumed that we said, and it was true, that we were going to have a soft landing and our economy was better than the rest of the world. Better for who? Better for the working class who was saying groceries were too expensive, as they are now and going up. They got to see us talk about things. Again, I go back to this. Don't talk about food insecurity or housing type of issues. Talk about people being hungry and wondering where they're going to live, or about their children's future, about real security. And so I think your question is spot on. I think we got intellectualized on this. I think the fact of the matter is Joe Biden did soft land the economy. He did usher us through COVID. None of us are saying we should be soft on the border, but we allow a vacuum, and Donald Trump fills it, the 800-pound gorilla, and their narrative starts to stick, and we look weak. We look weak like we don't care. We look like look, Jake, I'm not going to say, we need to do is we need to just arrest people and ship them to El Salvador. No, we need to invest the money on border. We need to make sure that we have the judges necessary to adjudicate things faster. We need to make sure if you're going to be in this country here legally, and when you are, you're going to be uplifted, celebrated, and part of this great American tapestry. We didn't do that, and then it fills them. They'll find the example that is horrific where you have someone who's not here legally and they commit a crime. That is horrific, but we don't do a good job of telling that.
Don't you think your party needs to acknowledge that President Biden was not up for the job of running for re-election and that this was a major mistake?
He made that decision.
I know, but you all went along with the idea that he was up for it and he wasn't. And everybody saw it and the country rejected it.
Yeah, well, look, history will tell us to go back on that. That very well could be the case, Jake. What I'm concerned about is learning from those lessons. I would hope we would never do it again, make a mistake, make sure we go through and get someone. But I don't know where it helps us going forward. I certainly am deeply concerned that Donald Trump is going to lead us down a horrific... Look, thank God it's tariffs that he said. Donald Trump listens to no one. Remember, Donald Trump has statements about, I don't think nuclear war would be that bad. I guess we're lucky that he went after tariffs instead of that route.
So two things are true here. One, Jake Tapper is completely right. The Democrats are absolutely ridiculous for how far they let the whole Biden charade go. Okay, Biden was totally senile. He had no idea what planet he was on. It was a total joke and just a ridiculous move to run him again. Frankly, the first time was ridiculous, but hey, they won that one, so it worked out well. But running him again, crazy. And Tim Walz, is just as culpable as all the rest of the Democrats. But so is Jake Tapper, all right? And Jake Tapper talking about your party as if, he's not on the left and in bed with Democrats the same way Walz is. That is hilarious, all right? Especially in regards to Biden's cognitive decline, because Jake Tapper, along with the other goons at CNN, were nonstop running cover for it. Let's not believe me. Take a look at this.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You have
to
no.
watch somebody on stage
I can't.
search for
This is so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have
is
one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it.
Notice that again, that denial of political party. Well, I'm not on the left. Okay, dude, whatever you say. Also, another fun fact about Jake Tapper, he actually either has released or is about to release a book on the Democrat leftist cover-up of, you guessed it, Biden's cognitive decline. Isn't that rich? And then over here, he's denying it. These people are so fake, guys. Look, even if they once in a while say something right or correct, as you'll see you'll see more of that from Jake Tapper in a moment here, they are still snakes, and they're not to be trusted. But with all that being said, here is a bit more of Jake Tapper roasting Tim Walz. And hey, you know what? I love seeing the Democrats eat their own. It's truly glorious and spectacular to witness.
So we heard your former running mate Kamala Harris say she's not here to say I told you so, although obviously that's what she was saying about all the Trump chaos. We're seeing, I have to say though, what does I told you so really mean here? I mean, people heard her message. They did not vote for her. She lost every battleground state. You yourself have criticized the Harris-Walz campaign for being too cautious. She may have told the American people, she may have warned the American people, but she didn't do it compellingly enough to win.
That is the absolute point. And look, when I criticize, I'm criticizing myself. I own this. I'm part of the ticket. And somebody has to come up with a strategy. I think this is exactly right. This is the thing. Look, Democrats, it was a good night in Wisconsin. I was over there. We saw that.
Who doesn't love watching Tim Walz have to eat his humble pie? Also, about that book I was telling you guys about. Here it is, Jake Tapper's Original Sin, now available for pre-order, blah, 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 blah. May 20th, 2025. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Interesting. It's almost as if Tapper is trying to rewrite history. And not to get in too big of a tangent right now, but I think a lot of our history has been rewritten. And that's very important to think about because you just can't trust something just because it's written in a book. It's the sad reality of our affairs. Now, with all that being said, everybody, we really appreciate you tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed it. As always, comment below. Let us know what you like about the clip, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future, and hit that subscribe button. And that way, we'll make sure to see you again soon. God bless.